The first question says that draw a line through point P that is perpendicular to line L. So what you will do is that using your protractor, you'll mark a 90-degree angle at point P, and then you will draw a straight line that is at 90 degree at P. So since I'm doing it roughly, it's going to be something like this, but you need to make sure that this angle over here is 90 degrees. Then write down the mathematical names for two different quadrilaterals with two lines of symmetry and rotational symmetry of order 2. So one of these shapes is a rectangle because a rectangle has two lines of symmetries and a rotational order of symmetry 2. So this is your first line of symmetry, this is your other line of symmetry. And the other shape that falls in this category is a rhombus. Now, while in a rhombus, your opposite angles are equal. So if you draw the shape, this is your rhombus, where all sides might be equal, but opposite angles are equal. So for this, your line of symmetry is going to be a diagonal. So we have this one diagonal over here and this other diagonal over here. So two line of symmetries again. So these are two shapes. Part C says the diagram shows a quadrilateral on a 1 centimeter square grid. Find the area of this quadrilateral. So to find the area, we first count the complete boxes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now for the incomplete boxes, this is 9. This and this is 10. And this is 11. So we have 11 boxes. So that's 11 centimeters square for the area of this quadrilateral. Part D says the diagram shows a quadrilateral DEFG and a straight line FGH. Angle DEF is 82 degrees. Write on the mathematical name for this type of angle. This is an acute angle because an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So acute is less than 90 degrees, whereas an obtuse angle is greater than 90. Third is reflex angle. That is more than 180 degrees. So these are the three types of angles that they can ask about in these shapes. Then it says work out the value of x, give a geometrical reason for your answer. So this is x. X lies on the line FGH. So we know that angles on a straight line add up to 180. So on this line, we have this angle and this angle, which means the sum of 143 and x is going to be 180, and x will be 180 minus 143, which equals to 37 degrees. So that is your value of x. (37 degrees) because angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Then it says work out the value of y. So now y lies inside this quadrilateral. So in a quadrilateral, the sum of angles equal to 360. which means we will subtract 82, 103, and 143 from 360 to find y. So that is basically going to equal to 32 degrees. Y is 360 minus 82 minus 143 and 103. First angles in a quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. Question 2 says that Tia buys 55 liters of fuel from garage A. Work out the change she receives from $100. So if 1 liter costs $1.41, so for 55 liters, she will pay 55 times 1.41, and that will be subtracted from 100 to find the change that she has received. So that is going to equal $22.45. Then it says work out how much cheaper it is to buy 20 liters of fuel from garage A than from garage B. So for 20 liters, we find the total cost that we're paying to both garages. So for A, that's going to be 1.41 times 20. And for B, that's going to be 1.50 times 20. So for garage A, what we get is $28.2. And for garage B, we're getting $30. So how much cheaper is it to buy 20 liters from garage A? We subtract the two. So 30 minus 28.2. And that gives us $1.8. That's the answer. Then it says these are the amounts that 6 people spent on fuel at garage A. Calculate the mean number of liters that they buy. So to find the mean number of liters, we will add all of the values for the amount that they're spending and then divide it by the total number of people, which is 6. So 63 plus 84.5 plus 72.23 plus 46 plus 54.10 and plus 80. This entire sum is divided by 6 times 1.41. Why 6 times 1.41? Because if we remember, garage A charges $1.41 per liter. So to get the number of liters that they buy, what we need to do is that we need to add up the amounts that they're spending and then divide it by the per liter cost for all 6 people. So that equals to 47.3 liters. If we just divided the sum by 6, that would not give you the liters. That would just give you the amount that each person spent. We need to find the mean number of liters that they're buying. That's the mean number of amount that they spent. So for that, we have to multiply the number of people by the amount that is for each liter and then divide the sum by it. Then the next part says the cost of fuel at garage B increases from $1.5 to $1.53. Calculate the percentage increase. So for percentage increase, we subtract the new value and the old value. So 1.53 minus 1.50. Divide the result by the old value and then times this fraction by 100. Remember, new value minus the old value, then divided by the old value. So that's going to give us 2%. That is the percentage increase. Then part B says the fuel tank of a car is 2/5 full. It takes 39 more liters of fuel to fill the tank. Work out the number of liters of fuel in a full tank. So how many liters of fuel are in a full tank? So 2/5 is already full. That means 3/5 will equal to 39 liters. So 3/5 of the full tank, X is full tank. So we'll do X equals to 39 times 5 divided by 3. That's 13 times 5. And that equals to 65 liters. Part C says use 1 liter equals to 0.22 gallons to complete this conversion graph. So if 1 liter is equal to 0.22 gallons, 10 liters would equal to 0.22 times 10, which is 2.2 gallons. So this is 1, this is 2, somewhere over here. 100 liters would be 0.22 times 100, and that's 22 gallons. So 22 is going to be over here. That's 22 gallons. So this is going to be our line. It's easier that you choose a bigger number. 100 liters means that we're multiplying 0.22 by 100. So that gives us a whole number, which is 22. So mark at y 22 and x 100 and just draw a straight line starting from the origin. Then it says use 1 liter equals 0.22 gallons to complete this statement. 1 gallon would equal to 1 over 0.22 liters, which is basically equal to 1 over 0.22, which is 4.54 recurring liters. So 4.54 liters is your answer. Then it says a cylindrical tank for storing fuel has radius 1.5 meters and height 8 meters. Calculate the volume of the tank in liters. The volume of cylinder is going to be pi r square h. So pi r square h. R is given as 1.5 and height is 8. So now when you multiply these, what we get is that's 56.548 meter cube. They want it in liters. Now we know 1 liter is equal to 1000 centimeter cube. And 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So 1 meter cube would equal to 1,000,000 centimeter cube. 1 liter is going to equal to 1000 meter cube. So we'll just multiply this by 1000. And that is going to give us, we'll just multiply this by 1000. And that gives us 56,548 liters. That is your answer. Question 3 says in triangle DEF, DE is 6 centimeters, DF is 4.8 centimeters. Using a ruler and a compass only, construct triangle DEF. Leaving your construction arcs, the line EF has been drawn for you. So We said that DE is 6 centimeters and DF is 4.8 centimeters. So now we open a compass centimeters and draw an arc at 6 centimeters from E. So this is one arc. Then for the other point, we now open this to 4.8 centimeters. Now bring it to point F and draw another arc. So now, using our ruler, we will connect point E with the intersection of the two arcs, which is this over here. This is where your point D is located. And same thing with point F. And that is a triangle DEF. This length is 6 centimeters. This is 4.8 centimeters. So remember, you open your compass to the length, to the amount of the length, which is 6 centimeters for DE. You draw an arc from point E, which is 6 centimeters, away from point E. Then you repeat the same steps for DF. You open the compass to 4.8 centimeters. Draw an arc from point F upwards. Both the arcs will intersect at the point, and that point is going to be your point D. And then you connect the intersection with point E and F, and then you have your triangle. Part B says write down the letter of the triangle that is congruent to triangle T. So congruent to triangle T is going to be the triangle which has the same length as triangle T. So we have 3 over here and 2 over here. So E is not congruent, D is not congruent, neither is A, neither is F, G works. So it's G. Then write down the letter of the triangle that is similar but not congruent to triangle T. So if it's similar, that means it's being increased or decreased by a scale factor. So if we look at the shapes, we can look at shape C first. Its base is 4 and height is 5. They're not being increased by the same scale factor over here, so this doesn't work. If we look at F, that also doesn't work. If you look at F, this is 3 and the height is 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So 4.5 divided by 3 is 1.5. And 3 divided by 2 is also 1.5, which means T and F are similar. Once again, in similar shapes, there's a scale factor that is increasing or decreasing corresponding lengths on the shapes. So 3 is corresponding to 4.5 and 2 is corresponding to 3. So to find the scale factor, we multiply the corresponding lengths. And in this case, that gives us 1.5. And if we do the same for the base, 3 divided by 2 is also 1.5. Since both of them give the same scale factor, that means F is similar to T. Part C says the diagram shows an isosceles triangle. Show that the perpendicular height h is 6.58 centimeters, correct to 3 significant figures. So to prove that, we can see that this is an isosceles triangle. So that means h is the line of symmetry of the triangle. So we can divide 7 into 3.5 and 3.5. Now, if we redraw this triangle, like the half of it, we can see that we have this angle 62. This is a right angle. We have to find the value of h, and the base is 3.5. So whenever we have an angle and a length, and they want us to find the missing length, we use SOHCAHTOA. So now to know how to use SOHCAHTOA, we need to see what information is given. They've given us the adjacent. Adjacent is the length on which the angle lies. They've given us the angle, and they want us to find the opposite. Opposite is the length which is opposite to the angle. So opposite and adjacent go in tan, because tan equals to opposite over adjacent. So tan of 62 is equal to h over 3.5. 3.5 times tan of 62 is h, and that gives us a value of 6.58 centimeters, correct to 3 significant figures. Then the second part says, calculate the area of the triangle, give the units of the answer. So area of the triangle would be 1 over 2 times base times height. Base was 7 and height was found to be 6.58. So that equals 23.03 centimeters square. That is your answer. Then the third part says, Calpit tries to arrange some of these triangles to make a regular polygon with center O. Show that Calpit cannot make a regular polygon. If we look at these triangles, we can see that these are isosceles triangles. So if we find the third angle over here, that's going to be 180 minus 62 minus 62, which gives us 56 degrees. So to figure out how many triangles are being added, we can divide 360 by 56 to find the number of sides. So 360 divided by 56 gives us a decimal number, which is 6.428 and so on. Now remember, your number of sides cannot be in decimals. It has to be a whole number. So this is exactly why it cannot be a regular polygon, because if it was a regular polygon, when all of these triangles were added to make the polygon, the number of times the triangles were added, those many 56 we would add, and that should equal to 360, because angles at a point equal to 360. But since in this case it doesn't, because the number of sides is coming out as a decimal number, that means it's not a regular polygon. So that's how you explain it. Not an integer. Then question 4 says a shop sells 58 televisions in 1 week. The bar chart shows the number of televisions that the shop sells on 5 of the days. Write down the number of televisions that the shop sells on Monday. So on Monday, as you can see, the bar ends between 4 and 2, so that equals to 3 televisions. Then it says find the fraction of the televisions that the shop sells on Sunday. So on Sunday, we can see it's between 12 and 10, so that's 11. And in total, we're selling 58 televisions. So 11 over 58 is the fraction of the televisions that the shop sells on Sunday. Then the number of televisions that the shop sells on the other 2 days is in the ratio of Wednesdays to Friday, which is 2:3. Complete the bar chart. So first we need to find out what is the total number of televisions that were sold on Friday and Wednesday. How can we find that out? We can find that using the values from the bar chart. We know in total 58 were sold. On Monday, there are 3. On Tuesday, 4. On Thursday, 4. On Saturday, 16. And on Sunday, it's 11. So if we add these and subtract them from 58, that gives us the total number of televisions that were sold on Wednesday and Friday. So 58 minus 16 minus 11 minus 3 minus twice of 4. And that gives us 20 televisions. Now these were the number of televisions that were sold on Wednesday and Friday. So now we're going to use this number to figure out how many were sold on Wednesday separately and Friday separately. So for Wednesday, we will write 2 over 2 plus 3 times 20. Number that's assigned to Wednesday in the ratio. And denominator is your sum of the values in the ratio. So that's basically 2/5 of 20, which is going to be 8. And for Friday, it's going to be 3/5 of 20, which is 12. So your bar for Wednesday would be 8 units long, and Friday would be 12 units long. So going back to the bar chart, Wednesday is going to be 8, and Friday is going to be 12. So this is how you complete your bar chart for the given information. A very common mistake over here would have been that instead of using 20, like the number of TVs that were only sold on Wednesday and Friday, you could have used 58, which is the number of TVs that are sold throughout the week. So if you had used 58 instead of 20, then you would get a decimal value, which would be incorrect. So you have to make sure that you have to find the number of TVs that were sold just on Wednesday and Friday, the total for that, and then use that to find how many were separately sold on Wednesday and Friday so that you can make a bar chart for the given information. Then it says write down the mode. Now mode is your highest frequency. So highest frequency is clearly for Saturday, where they're selling 16 TVs. Then part B says the television has a price of $550. This price is reduced by 4%. Calculate the new price. So if this price is reduced by 4%, that means we're trying to find the 96% of 550. So 96% of 550 is going to be $528. That is the new price of the television after the reduction. Part C says the scatter diagram shows the prices of different size televisions. Write on the type of correlation shown in the scatter diagram. So the type of correlation over here is positive. The reason being that as the television size is increasing, so is the price. If both the quantities are increasing, that means there's positive correlation. If one quantity is increasing and the other is decreasing, that means there's negative correlation. Next part says, Hemming buys 2 televisions. The probability that the television is faulty is 0.02. So they've given us a probability tree diagram and they want us to complete it. So if the probability of a television being faulty is 0.02, that means the probability of it not being faulty will be 1 minus 0.02, which is going to be 0.98. Since the probabilities are not changing, so this would also be 0.02. This would also be 0.98, 0.02, and 0.98. Remember, to find the probability of an event not occurring, you subtract the probability of it occurring from 1. Then it says find the probability that Hemming buys 2 faulty televisions. So for 2 faulty televisions, we're going along this path. So when you're going along the branches, you multiply. So we'll do 0.02 times 0.02. And that will give us 0.0004. If you were going across the branches, like you were doing faulty, faulty, and not faulty, not faulty, then you would add the result after you've done across the branches. So remember, along the branches you multiply, and across the branches you add. Then it says the shop sells 4,150 televisions in 1 year. Calculate the expected number of faulty televisions. So for the expected number of faulty televisions, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 4,150 with 0.02. And that is going to give us 83. So 83 televisions are expected to be faulty. Question 5 says complete the tables of values for y equals to negative x squared plus 5x plus 7. So all you have to do is you have to substitute the given values of x in the equation and find the corresponding y values. So when you substitute negative 1 in the equation, what you should get is 1, because y equals to negative times negative 1 whole square plus 5 times negative 1 plus 7. That's negative 1, because negative 1 whole square becomes positive 1. But since there's a negative sign outside, so 1 goes back to being negative. This is negative 5 and 7, and that gives us positive 1. Then when x equals to 0, y equals to negative 0 square plus 5 times 0 plus 7. That is going to be 7. Then when x is to negative 2 squared plus 5 times 2 plus 7. That's negative 4 plus 10 plus 7. That's 13. When x is 3, y equals to negative 3 squared plus 5 times 3 plus 7. Negative 9 plus 15 plus 7. And that also equals to 13. Lastly, when x is 5, negative 5 squared plus 5 times 5 plus 7. That is negative 25 plus 25 plus 7, which is also equal to 7. So this is your complete table with all of the values. And the next part says, on the grid, draw the graph of y equals to negative x squared plus 5x plus 7, where x is between negative 1 and 6. At negative 1 and 1, that's over here. 0, 7 is here. 1, 11 is going to be over here. 2, 13 is going to be over here. 3, 13 is going to be over here. 4, 11 is this one. 5, 7 is going to be this point over here. And 6, 1 is here. These are your points. Now we connect the dots. Try to make it as neat as possible. This is basically a quadratic graph, a very rough version of it, but you get the basic gist. Then in the next part, It's saying write on the equation of the line of symmetry of this graph, and then the points -8, -97, and t -97 also lie on the graph. Use the symmetry to find the value of t. Okay, so to find the equation of the line of symmetry of the graph, we can see that it's between x equals to 2 and 3. So that's going to be 2.5. So this is your line of symmetry. Remember, line of symmetry is always the x value if like your graph is vertical. If it's horizontal, then it's going to be the y value. So part B said that points -8 and -97 and t -97 also lie on the graph. We have to use the line of symmetry to find the value of t. The coordinates are -8 and -97 and t and -97. So if you notice, line of symmetry is the x value. So we need to focus on the x coordinate. So if it's at -8, that means our distance between -8 and 2.5 is going to be 8 units and then 2.5 units, so 10.5 units. That is the distance between -8 and the line of symmetry. So the other point, which is going to be on the opposite side of 2.5, which is going to be on the right side, we're going to walk 10.5 units away. So from 2.5, if we walk 10.5 units away, that is going to be 2.5 plus 10.5, and that is 13. So t is going to be 13. Remember, they're talking about the line of symmetry. That means the points are going to be equidistant from the line of symmetry. So if -8, -97 is on the left-hand side of the line of symmetry, t -97 is going to be on the right-hand side of the symmetry. And since for the line of symmetry, we compare the x values because the y values, as you can see, are the same. So from -8 to x equals 2.5, we're walking 10.5 units. So then on the other side, we're again going to walk 10.5 units towards the right-hand side, and we will reach x equals to 13 over there. Hence, t is 13. Part B says write on the gradient of the line y equals to 9x minus 4. Gradient is always the number that's being multiplied to x, keeping in mind that the equation has y as the subject. So over here, the number that's being multiplied to x is 9. So gradient is 9. This -4 over here is your y-intercept. And 9 is your slope or gradient, whatever you want to call it. Then part C says write on the equation of a line parallel to y equals to -5x plus 19. So remember, parallel lines have the same gradient. So you can create an equation out of this information where your -5x is going to be the same, but now something else will be added or subtracted to it. Or you don't even need to add or subtract anything since like y equals to -5x also works. So remember, for parallel lines, as long as your slope is the same, your equation will be correct. It does not matter what you're adding or subtracting to it for the y-intercept, but what matters is the slope is the same as the equation that we're comparing with it, or the equation that is parallel to it. Part D says find the equation of the line in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So to find the equation of this line, what we will do is we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So in y equals to mx plus c, our C value is identified as 2. Now for the M value, which is the slope, we can use rise over run, or we can just pick 2 coordinates on the line and use those to find the slope. So to find the slope, the formula we use is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Picking these 2 points, this is 0, 2, and this is 2, 0. So it's going to be 0 minus 2 over 2 minus 0, and that's negative 1. That's your M. So y equals to negative x plus 2. You don't need to write the 1 with x because every whole number is multiplied to 1. So you never write negative 1x, you just write negative x. That is how you present your final answer. Then it says make x the subject of the formula y equals to mx plus c. So y equals to mx plus c. First, we will move c to the other side. So we have y minus c equals to mx. Now they want x to be the subject, not mx to be the subject, which means we need to get rid of the m with x as well. So to get rid of the m, we're going to divide both sides by m. And that leaves us with y minus c over m equals to x. That is your equation. Question 6 says town S is 44 kilometers from town R on a bearing of 117 degrees. Using a scale of 1 centimeter represents 8 kilometers, mark the position of town S. So if it's 4 kilometers and 1 centimeter equals to 8 kilometers, what we do is we divide 44 by 8 to find the distance in centimeters. So 44 divided by 8 is 5.5. So 5.5 centimeters is the distance between R and S on the map. So using a ruler, you will draw a line that is 5.5 centimeters long and on a bearing of 117 from R. So it's going to be somewhere over here. This is your bearing of 117, and this line is supposed to be 5.5 centimeters long. So you will use your ruler and protractor to find the exact position using this information. Then it says Anvi cycles the 44 kilometer from R to S. She leaves R at 13:15 and cycles at a speed of 12 kilometers per hour. Work out the time she arrives at S. So first we need to find the time duration during which she is cycling. So time is going to be distance over speed. So that's going to be 44 divided by 12. And that equals 3.6 recurring hours. 3 hours. So 44 divided by 12 is 3.6 recurring. So that's in hours. So to break it down into hours and minutes, the number before the decimal, that is our hours, so 3 hours. And the number after the decimal, which is going to be 0.6 recurring, we times that by 60. So 0.6 recurring times by 60 basically gives us 40 minutes. So this is how you break down the time in hours to hours and minutes. Whatever is after the decimal, you times that by 60 to convert it into minutes. Now, once you've done that, we add this to the starting time, which was 13:15. So 13:15 plus 40 is going to be 16:55. That is the time at which she arrives at S. Then part B says the tower has a height of 16 meters. When J makes a scale drawing of the tower, it has a height of 20 centimeters. Work out the scale J uses giving your answer in the form of 1:n. So the tower has the height of 16 meters in reality, but on the scale, it's 20 centimeters. So what we can do is that we can convert the 16 meters into centimeters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So 16 would be 16 times 100, which is 1600 centimeters. They want us to figure out the scale. So if we divide 1600 by 20, that's basically 80. So n equals to 80. Remember, first you make sure that the units are same. So we converted the meters into centimeters by multiplying 16 by 100. After that, we divide 1600 by 20 to find the scale by which it's increasing in size. That's 80. So 1:80 is the scale of the math. Then part C says x, y, and z are 3 towns. X is on a bearing of 288 from y. Z is on a bearing of 18 degrees from y. Show that angle XYZ is 90 degrees. So X is on a bearing of 288 from Y. Let me draw the knots at all points. So this entire angle is 288. And Z is on a bearing of 18 from Y, which means this is 18. So this is 18. We can easily find this angle, which is going to be 288 minus 18, and that equals to 270 degrees. So why can't we find this by subtracting 288 from 360? So 288 minus 360 is going to give us 72 degrees. So we had to show that XYZ is 90. XYZ is going to be 72 plus 18, which is 90 degrees. That's your answer. Then it says XYZ is 6 kilometers and YZ is 9.7 kilometers. Calculate XZ. So if you remember from the previous part, this is a 90 degree. So if this is a 90 degree, that means this is a right angle triangle. So we can easily use Pythagoras to find XZ. XZ square would be 6 square plus 9.7 square, which is going to give us 130.09. Then we take the square root on both sides, and XZ is equal to 11.4 kilometers. That is what XZ is. Question 7 says P is 3a plus 5. Find the value of P when a is 2. So P is 3 times 2 plus 5. That's 6 plus 5, and that is equal to 11. Then it says solve these equations. 7x equals to negative 42, which means x would be negative 42 divided by 7, and that is negative 6. Remember, a negative integer divided by a positive integer will always give a negative answer, whereas a negative integer divided by a negative integer would be positive. Then the next part, we have an equation, 9 times 8x minus 7 equals to 72. So whenever we have bracket and there's something written outside the bracket, you always multiply it with the terms inside the bracket, which means it's going to be 9 times 8x, then plus 9 times negative 7 equals to 72. 72x minus 63 equals to 72. 72x equals to 72 plus 63 now. When you move terms from one side to the other side, you always change their signs. So let's say if something is being multiplied on one side, on the other side, it will divide. In this case, since 63 was being subtracted from 72, on the other side, it would add. So 72x equals to 135. And x would be 135 divided by 72. And that equals 1.875. That is your value of x. Then part C says 5 to the power of 8 times 5 to the power of k equals to 5 to the power of negative 24. Find the value of k. So this is a clear case of rules of indices where we have similar bases being multiplied. So when you have similar bases being multiplied, what we do is we add the powers. So it's going to be 5 to the power of 8 plus k equals to 5 to the power of negative 24. Now, as you can see, we have the same base on both sides. So that means the powers are equal. So 8 plus k equals to negative 24. K is going to be negative 24 minus 8, which is negative 32. That is your value of k. Then part D says solve the simultaneous equations. So in this, you can either use the elimination method or the substitution method. I'm going to pick elimination because that's going to be less time consuming. So what we can see over here is that, so when you're using the elimination method, you need to first decide which variable you want to eliminate. I want to eliminate y. The reason why I want to eliminate y is because if you look at y in both the equations, both the y's have the same coefficient, which means we don't need to do the step where we have to make the coefficients equal. So simple, go for y. Why go for x when you have to make the coefficients equal in that case? So now that we've decided which variable we want to eliminate, and we have also come to the conclusion that both of them have the same coefficient, next step is to see what signs they have. So the first equation y is negative, and the second equation y is positive. So for us to eliminate this y, if one is positive and the other is negative, that means we add the equations. Because if we subtracted the equations, that would not eliminate y. So we do negative 6x minus y equals to 13 plus 8x plus y equals to negative 51. Negative 6x plus 8x, negative y plus y is 0. And then we have 13 plus negative 51. Negative 6x plus 8x is 2x. 13 minus 51 is going to give us 38. So x is going to be negative 38 divided by 2, which is equal to negative 19. Now to find the value of y, you substitute negative 19 into either of the equations. The first one, because once again, that's going to be simpler to solve. So negative 6 times negative 19 minus y equals to 13. 6 times 19 is going to be 114. So 114 minus 13 equals to y, which is equal to 101. That is your value of y. So that's how you use elimination method to solve a set of simultaneous equations. Part E says n is an integer where n is greater than negative 3 and n is less than equal to 1. Write down all the possible values of n. So it's greater than negative 3, that means it's going to be negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 1. We stop at 1 because 1 is included in the range. Whereas for negative 3, it wasn't included, so that's why we went ahead of negative 3. So these are your possible values of n. And it says a boy walks for 35 minutes at x meters per minute. He then runs for t minutes at 160 meters per minute. Write down an expression in terms of x and t for the total distance in meters the boy travels. Distance is average speed multiplied by time. For the walking part, average speed is x per meters, and multiplied by time, that's 35. Plus, for the running part, 160 per minute multiplied by t. So that's 35x plus 160t. That is your expression for distance in terms of x and t. Remember, check your units. Check if the units are same for both the running and the walking part. If they're not, you have to make the units same first, and then you start with creating the expression. Part G says find an expression for the area of this rectangle, giving your answer the form of x squared plus ax plus b. So area is basically length times width. So that's going to be x minus 2 multiplied by x plus 5. Expand the bracket. X gets multiplied with x plus 5. And negative 2 also gets multiplied with x plus 5. So x times x plus 5 is x squared plus 5x. And negative 2 times x plus 5 is negative 2x minus 10. Once again, a positive and a negative integer, when they multiply, the result is always negative. So collect the like terms. 5x minus 2x is 3x. So x squared plus 3x minus 10 is your expression in the form of x squared plus ax plus b. Question 8 says 120 people teach in university mathematics department. Some information is shown in the table. 1/5 of the people are professors. 30% of the people are part-time. Work out the number of full-time lecturers. So 1/5 of people are professors. So this is the total. Professors are going to be 1/5 of 120, which is equal to 24. So this is 24. So now we can find the lecturers. That's going to be 120 minus 24, which is going to be 96. Now, since total professors are 24, so full-time professors are going to be 24 minus 11, which is 13. Now, this said that 30% of the people are part-time. So 30% of 120 is going to be 36. So now full-time are going to be 120 minus 36, which equals 84. So full-time lecturers are going to be 84 minus 13, which is 71. And this would be 25. So 71 is your answer. This is a very scoring question if you're doing it step by step and finding information for each block where you can. Then part B says, we have a universal set where children are going to a school. F represents the children who like fruit. V represents the children who like vegetables. 24 children like vegetables but do not like fruit. So 24 children like vegetables but do not like fruit. So 24 comes over here. 8 children do not like fruit and do not like vegetables. So they're going to be outside the sets. Number of fruit and vegetables. So this represents the intersection. Intersection means the elements that are common. So 9 are common. So that's over here. Then it says number of fruit equals to 3 times number of vegetables. So to find the number of people who just like fruits, we multiply 3 with the number of people who just like vegetables. So number of people who just like vegetables are 24 plus 9, and that's 33. So to find the number of people who like fruits, we multiply 3 with the number of people who like vegetables. So the number of people who like vegetables are basically these two, 24 plus 9, that's 33. So number of fruits would be thrice of 33, which is 99. So since we already have a part of 99, that's 9 over here. So this would be 90. So that's a complete Venn diagram. Then it says work out the number of F union V, which is all of the elements in fruits and vegetables. So that's going to be 90 plus 9 plus 24. We don't add 9 twice. We only add it once because it's overlapping. So 99 plus 24 is 123. That is the number of people who like fruits and vegetables, like all of the elements in fruits and vegetables. So that's your answer.